Hello everyone. In this video, we'll see what are the management options which are available to manage our services on Azure Cloud. We know that there are multiple services which are offered by Azure and we are able to deploy these services. So how do we deploy all these services using the Azure Cloud Service Provider? We have multiple options to deploy all these services. There is a web portal to access and deploy these services, which is called as https portal.azure.com. It is https portal.azure.com. Also, we have CLI options to deploy the services. We can use Azure CLI to deploy all the services. These CLI tools can be installed on our desktop or on our laptop. We need to authenticate to the portal, then run some commands to deploy these services. There is also an option to use the PowerShell. PowerShell can also be installed on our own laptop, and similarly how we authenticate using the Azure CLI to the cloud. Similarly, we can authenticate to the Azure cloud using the PowerShell. We have to authenticate to the Azure cloud and run some commands. In PowerShell, we have Azure modules. We need to install these modules for the Azure so that the commands will run. So PowerShell is basically a tool which has to be used with different modules. For Active Directory, you need to install Active Directory module. Similarly, for Azure, you need to install Azure modules. We need to install Azure modules onto our PowerShell. Then we will be able to run the commands for the Azure Cloud Services. And also we can integrate with the APIs. We have an SDK and we will be able to use the APIs to integrate, and we will be able to provision these services. If you don't want to provision, or if you don't want to install the Azure CLI and PowerShell on your laptop or desktop, then there is an option to use these command line tools using the browser itself. When you access portal.azure.com, you will be provided with an option to use PowerShell and Azure CLI. So in the portal itself, these tools are available. Access these tools, then run the commands, provision the services. To manage these services on Azure Cloud, we have a portal, CLI, which is Azure CLI tools and PowerShell modules. And also we can use SDKs and API. There is also a tool which is called as Terraform to automate the infrastructure. So this is an infrastructure as a code which is called as IAC. We can use Terraform to automate the build of the infrastructure. So this is the infrastructure as a code which is also called as IAC. We can use Terraform to build our infrastructure and provision the services on Azure Cloud. Terraform is a third-party IAC tool. Within Azure, there is a Azure Resource Manager template. This is also called as ARM template. This is an IAC tool which is provided by Azure itself. You can use Azure ARM template and provision the resources using this template. So these are the ways how you can provision the services onto the Azure cloud. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the content, please subscribe, share the video. Thank you and take care.